I'd like to welcome everyone to our June 12th meeting. I guess this is the first meeting in June, and I'd like to welcome everyone in the audience and also on our Electric City Television. The mayor's not here tonight, and so hopefully we get through this because I'm certainly sure he'll be watching somewhere. So tonight, Councilman Tony Stewart will lead us in our invocation, and our respects to the flag will be led by Councilman Buck Roberts. Please rise.
Let us pray. Our most gracious Heavenly Father, we come to you giving you thanks for the many blessings that you bestowed upon us and bestowed upon this community. We thank you for each and every member of our city's team, each and every department, because we know in order for this city to run efficiently, it takes every department within this city to make it work. And dear Heavenly Father, we just ask that you be with each and every council member, that you help us make decisions that are pleasing in your name, and protect us as we go our separate ways. These things we ask in Christ's name. Amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
The minutes from the May 22nd meeting have been distributed. Do I have any corrections or additions to it?
I move they be adopted.
Second. I have a first by Mr. Lockridge, a second by Dr. Thompson. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? To approve the minutes. We have no old business, so we'll move right into new business. Request consideration of an ordinance adopting the budget for fiscal year 2017-2018. Ms. McConnell?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Certainly our budget that we present tonight, we want to thank the input, the ongoing input that we've received from you all, your guidance, and your questions helped us develop tonight's budget. Certainly over the past months, as we've studied the council's initiatives, we've used your direction in developing this budget, and we had a work session on June the 5th to talk about the details of the budget, and tonight we also had at 5 p.m. a public hearing on the budget. So what's presented to you tonight covers the funds that are necessary to direct all of the projects identified by council and to provide our basic municipal services. The total in the ordinance that you have tonight before you, the total budget for all funds is $59,899,623. The budget ordinance also includes a tax millage cap of 118 mills, a franchise fee increase for Duke Energy, which would be from 4% to 5%, and a sanitation fee of $2.75 per garbage cart that's serviced by the city. In addition to that, the ordinance includes approval and appropriation of the entry market step increases and the appropriation not to exceed $2 million for our capital facilities improvements. So as we said, the ordinance that's in your package covers all of that, and the staff would recommend your consideration for first reading. It also includes that money from the general fund that was unassigned fund balance, that $2 million, which I mentioned for the capital facilities improvements. And that is your budget for 2017-2018. Be happy to answer any questions that you have about the details.
Mr. Mayor Pro Tem. Yes, sir, Mr. Chapman.
The millage cap of 118 mills, the discussion was for reduction of that. Is that?
This provides that. Certainly the reassessment is what you're talking about. Well, since we don't know exactly what reassessment will consist of, we do know what our millage cap is, so that we would say in here the tax millage cap that it would go no more than 118 mills. but will be determined once that reassessment number is complete.
But our initial assessment is that that'll be a 3 mil, should be a 3 mil drop.
Yes.
Yes, so Councilman Chapter, we were at a do not exceed amount in the budget ordinance of 118, and then we have the rollback millage that will go into play, and so it could be, we're expecting that to go down, and we're just anticipating that it would be from 115, possibly lower than that, so.
But yes, you're correct, that's our expectation.
Dr. Thompson?
With that, Linda, the 3 meals, the tax bill for the citizens be the same or will it be higher? Or do you know that yet?
I'm going to let Mr. McEwen answer that question.
And Dr. Thompson's question was, with the impact, we're looking at the 3 mills,
3 meals rollback
Right.
3 mills rollback, and what that would do.
to the, to the average.
To the $125,000 house example.
Yes, so for the 3 mills impact, you'd actually keep your tax bill neutral, because when we're keeping our bills the same, and we're just doing a rollback as required by state law, the point of that, or the effect of that, is to keep your tax bill neutral where it's not being raised. And because the theory is that you own a house and it's a $125,000 house, it's not being reassessed, that the value of the house may go up during a reassessment. And that's what we are estimating for that to happen. And so we have to roll back our millage so that your tax bill remains neutral, remains the same on that new value of the house.
Any other questions? Mr. Stewart?
I'd just like to say, I'd just like, first of all, just to thank Peggy and her staff and Donna for, answering a lot of hard questions that we've had, and we've met on numerous times to go over the budget, and it's been a very, difficult and hard process. But one thing that I think I can speak for this council on is that in order to have a great city, we got to have great employees. And one of the things that this council really felt very strongly about is making sure that we could compensate our employees for the great job that they did. So we've done the best stab that we can to come up with this budget, and hopefully our employees will be happy with what they're seeing. So just want to say thank you for all the work that you've done.
I second that.
Yeah, I just want to say that I've been through a lot of discussions and thinking about this, and look at the fact that we do want to compensate our employees from the police down to the crew worker one. Because we know that the crew worker one salary is probably the lowest paid of anybody in the city. And I was very careful to think about their needing to raise at least to market rate. And many of our people are not getting market rate at this time. So this budget, if we thought about it with Linda and Peg and the rest of them, that we wanted to make sure that none of our employees, whether they are chief of police out there doing their job, or whether it's a person who's picking up our trash, they are both equally important. So because we have the below market rate persons out there with their salary, we want to encourage them to continue doing the best they can, and let them know that we as council members and as administration are just as concerned about what they carry home in their paycheck as what the chief of police carries home in his paycheck. So I think we've done a pretty good job on trying. We care about the insurance, we care about what they carry home in their paycheck. And so I think as we talked about this, and we didn't do this lightly, we have talked about it an awful lot. And we want to be competitive also, because if there's somebody in Greenville, Spartanburg, Greenwood, if they're paying much higher salaries than we are, then we're not at market rate, probably. So we want to be at market rate. We want to be progressive. We want to treat all of our employees fairly, because we have to depend on them to do the work, whether it's out there chasing crooks, or whether it's picking up my trash, whatever it is, to make this a beautiful, progressive city. So I have to commend the staff for working so hard, and the council members for taking this, really seriously. We used to say, oh yeah, this is it. We talked about it, I dreamed about it, I thought about it. and wanted to make sure that we're doing the right thing, make Anderson what it should be. So someone comes to town and there's an opening in whatever division there is, and they'll say, hey, that's pretty good. I think I'd like to work here. So that's it.
Thank you, Dr. Thompson. Mr. Chapman?
Same with, just more of a comment, but I too would like to concur with all the council members up here. Peggy, your staff, thank you for all that y'all have done, as well as Linda and David. It is a very serious topic for all the council members up here. And sometimes we get into serious discussions, but it's all meant to be a very positive experience at the end. I would like to point out that I think our comparison studies showed that from 2006, we started out with a millage rate of 125 and have continued to drop it periodically. Now, we have added some user fees in there, as most municipalities have, but we're trying to do that each time so that we can offset it with a millage drop. So there's kind of a net no increase for the citizens. So I think that's a very good case that we need to make, that we have continued to drop the millage in the city of Anderson since 2006. So we have not, and I would be, I'm sure, this council's direction to try to continue to bring that millage down, because it brings in more businesses. It helps, the retired citizen on a fixed income. Having less millage means less taxes, and so with that, I would like to recommend that we approve it as presented.
Second.
I have a first by Mr. Chapman and a second by Mr. Buck Roberts. All those in favor? Opposed? It passes. Moving on to our second item of business, we're going to request consideration of an ordinance amending the Duke Energy franchise agreement. Ms. McConnell?
In line with the budget that you just had first reading on, which accounted for including an increase in the Duke Energy franchise fee from 4% to 5%, it's necessary for us to adopt this increase with the budget by passing a new ordinance that states that fee has been increased to 5%. So the ordinance that you have attached does just that. It increases and we have an existing municipal service agreement with Duke Energy. So this increases the franchise fee from 4% to 5% as you identified in your first reading of your budget.
Thank you, Ms. McConnell. Any questions?
Make a motion to pass it on first reading.
Second.
I have a first by Councilman Stewart and a second by Mr. Lockridge. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? It passes. Our third item of business is request consideration of a grass and weed cutting contract for code compliance. Ms. McConnell?
Mayor and Council, this is something that you see annually. I'd like to call on Planning and Development Director Maurice McKenzie to walk us through the details of this contract.
Each year, the city issues numerous citations for grass and weed compliance, and although most of the property owners that receive these citations are very responsive in taking care of the situation and mowing their grass, sometimes property owners cannot be located, and this results in us having to issue a lien against those properties in order for us to maintain those, so we can reduce the amount of unsightly situations in neighborhoods. And each year we contract with a lawn service to take care of this for us, and this year we have 75 lots on our list, and of those 51 lots are in possession of the Anderson County Forfeit Land Commission, which means that taxes were not paid on those lots and they were not reclaimed, so they go into the Anderson County Forfeit Land Commission. And unfortunately, there are no funds available directly to maintain all those properties. And Again, we have 51 on this list. There's a lot more in Anderson County, so that's a huge undertaking. But fortunately, over the years, we have been able to work with Anderson County to help us recoup some of the funds for us maintaining those forfeit land commission lots, and we're truly grateful for that. We're hoping that they'll be able to issue some funds this year so we can continue taking care of unsightly conditions throughout the growing season and beyond. When we sent this out for bid, we did ask for a price of the initial lot cleanups for each lot and subsequent mowing on a 2 to 3 week basis through the end of October. So essentially, we expect that the lots will be cut 8 times, not including the initial cut, which sometimes takes a little bit more effort because of the condition. But in some cases, if it's determined that the lots do not need to be cut on that 2 to 3 week basis because of drought or something of that nature, this cost will be reduced. And we do keep an eye on that, and we do not allow the contractors to mow the properties unless they need to be mowed. We sent out for bids and we received 2. As you can see, one was a cut and care at $16,500, and the other bid was DS and Sons at $17,625. Both contractors are located in Anderson County, neither one inside the city of Anderson. And with that, we do recommend approval of the low bidder, which is a cut and care. And we have worked with them over the past 2 cutting seasons. They've received the low bid, and they've been very efficient, and they do high quality work. So we're certainly recommending a cut and care at $16,500. And of course, we will continue monitoring their progress and make sure they meet the requirements that we have listed in the bid package.
Thank you, Mr. McConnell. McKenzie, sorry.
Same.
Any questions?
I just have
Mr. Chapman?
one thing that I would have you explore for next year is that there is a spray that you can spray on vacant lots, because a lot of vacant lots end up getting dandelions, and dandelions grow really quick. But there is a spray that you can put on there that would actually kills the dandelion, so just the grass grows, and they need to be cut less. That's just a suggestion that you may want to explore next year.
Dr. Thompson?
Are these the ones that you have?
Yes, ma'am.
I make a motion we accept it as presented.
Second.
I have a first by Mr. Chapman and a second by Dr. Thompson. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Passes unanimously. Number 4 item is request consideration of appointment to the Anderson Area Transportation Study ANATS Policy Committee. Ms. McConnell?
We have a number of various committees or groups that the city council participates in by either appointments or in some other fashion. This is one of those particular groups, entities. It's a transportation committee that addresses needs in the urban area. It's primarily related to federal and state funding as opposed to like local street paving that we might think of in terms of our road needs. But the bylaws specify what the representation on the ANATS Policy Committee is. And just to give you an example, you might remember before the East-West Parkway became a reality, there was a lot of planning involved in that new road. The ANATS Policy Committee was very involved in that type of road project. So as you can tell, based upon all of the representation, it's very specific. You have 3 members from Anderson City Council, and it's specified to be the mayor and 2 council members. You have 2 members from the Anderson County Council, and those are specific to districts 1 and 2 because they represent the urban area, they represent the city of Anderson. Belton City Council appointee, they are part of our ANATS area. And then 3 members from your legislative delegation, our senator and 2 House members who represent the city. In addition, we have our district commissioner, Ben Davis, The Anderson County Planning Commission is represented with 1 member, and then there are 4 at-large members, and those members are selected by the policy committee themselves. So in this case, what we're asking for is the seat that was formerly held by Councilmember Steve Kervin, that his resignation is what made that vacancy on the ANATS policy committee when he one of the kind of lines of thought behind the council member John Roberts and the recommending that he serve in this capacity is because he does serve in an at-large position, and because the ANATS group represents the urban area, it's more than just the city. So there's no real magic to it. Mr. Roberts has agreed he would serve if you feel compelled to appoint him to that position, but we would like to fill that vacancy.
Thank you. Any questions?
Mr. Mayor, I make a motion that we accept Mr. John Roberts to serve on this committee.
Second.
I have a first by Dr. Thompson and a second by Mr. Lockridge. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Passes unanimously. Our 5th item is request consideration to purchase networking equipment for the city networks. And I know Mr. McConnell is going to talk about this.
Yeah, you see me smiling and looking for Mr. Cunningham. This is a request that IT is bringing forward. The importance of having a secure network for our city's systems is certainly paramount, and Mr. Cunningham can explain more details about this switching gear that is being requested tonight.
Thank you. What we're proposing is to replace our core router. Core routers are our main piece of hardware for our network. Our current that means that Cisco, which is the manufacturer, will no longer support it. So at that point, we had to look at options. We could have replaced it with another router, but switching technology has advanced to the point where the switches can do the same work that the router does. And by going to a 2-switch system, it gives us redundancy. If something happens to one of the switches, it goes down, we can continue to operate using the existing one. So that's what we're proposing is the 2-switch system. They are layer 3 switches. They'll replace the core router. We advertised, we put together a proposal, and we advertised in the Anderson Independent and on our website. We received 5 bids that met all of our qualifications. Prices ranging from $13,000 to $29,000. The list price for a single switch is $24,000, so that would be $48,000 is the list for 2 switches. The state contract price, $13,230 each, so a little over $26,000 for 2. So you can tell we've got some benefits. I've mentioned the redundancy. This will also allow us to merge finally, to do a final merge between the city network and the police department network. Currently, we have, our law enforcement officers have 2 network logins. They've got a PD login, and then for their email, they have another one. With this, we'll be able to merge the network so they'll have a single sign-on. Currently, due to CJIS requirements, we have to change passwords every 90 days. And so we have to do that for every police officer now because they don't have access to our network. And with this, they'll be able to change one password, and that'll be it. So going through the quotes, we recommend purchasing from the low bidder, which is Holzberg out of New Jersey, for a total price of $13,408.
Thank you. Any questions? Mr. Stewart?
Mr. Cunningham, can you tell us about the Holzberg group? I just was looking here that Integral, who is our local support group.
Right.
They're pretty much in line with everybody else, but Holzberg came in drastically, low.
Right, and
Just raised a red flag.
It did, I did contact them afterwards, and the one thing that I wanted to ensure with them, we received some quotes that were lower, and they specified refurbished equipment. And so I contacted them to make sure that it was new, unopened, unused equipment, and they guaranteed that it was. And they also can offer the SmartNet, which is basically the warranty for the hardware, and only authorized Cisco resellers can sell that. That was some of the quotes that you saw that didn't meet qualifications were companies that could not offer the warranty. And so that's why they were disqualified. So they are a Cisco authorized reseller. He guaranteed that it's new. He says that they run on very thin margins and that they are, back up their products. So I felt comfortable with that, even though, like I said, we do have experience with Integral.
And so I guess our local support with them is just gonna go away, is that what?
It won't go away. They'll still be the company that does the installation. We rely on them for the Cisco certified engineers that will install and program the equipment, and they will still do that part of it.
Mr. Chapman?
The previous system had an 8-year life. What is the warranty on this new system?
It comes with a 90-day warranty, but the SmartNet that's included in the quote covers it for the full year, and we'll renew that SmartNet on an annual basis. And there's really no way for me to know how long the lifespan. It's just depending on how technology progresses. Once they determine to go end of life on something, it's usually 5 to 10 years is the average for something like that.
How long had we been on the T1 system? A T1 connection?
Before we left it,
Yes.
we started putting T1s in around 2002.
When we moved in this building. I
Right.
guess.
Mm-hmm. We put our network together and started connecting our remote locations with those.
But and I guess to follow up on Councilman Stewart's question, so you'll be there when they unpackage to make sure it's not
Absolutely.
refurbished.
Yeah.
Not that they wouldn't, but
Right.
if they told you.
Yeah, I've got
Their number is 30% less than.
Absolutely.
So.
Any more questions?
I move that we accept the low bid.
Have a first by Dr. Thompson. Second by Mr. Lockridge. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Passes unanimously.
Thank you.
Item number 6 is to request consideration of an ordinance adopting an economic development agreement regarding Clemson Engineering and Hydraulics. Ms. McConnell?
One of the things that has been a priority for City Council and for your staff has been the identification of new business opportunities, also the ability of us to retain and grow businesses that are within the city, and to see that produce not only tax revenue for us, but the creation of new jobs. And certainly, anytime we can highlight a business that seems to have a unique niche or to do something that is a little out of the ordinary for our community, it certainly puts us in a good light. What you have before you tonight is an ordinance that establishes an economic development agreement between the City of Anderson and Clemson Engineering Hydraulics. And David McEwen and Mary Haley Thompson will tell you more about this ordinance.
Thank you, Ms. McConnell. As you can remember, the ED committee met on April 25th and heard a presentation regarding this economic development expansion project. Also, the full council met on May the 15th and heard the proposed business expansion as well. The business project is Clemson Engineering Hydraulics. The company is actually in the engineering field. Their clients are international, and we're fortunate to have them looking and establishing their business inside the city limits of Anderson. It's a unique business. They have 3 different properties right now. They're currently operating out of a 20,000 square foot location in the county, and they will be transitioned in to a 20,000 square foot facility at River Heights in the city, and also another 40,000 square foot facility in the city as well. To incentivize the company to relocate their full operations within the city, staff recommends an economic development incentive agreement with Clemson Hydraulics, and it's for a projected revenue over a 5-year period. And Mary Haley will go over some of the details of what's in the agreement.
So the revenues resulting from the proposed development are estimated to exceed $140,000 over a 5-year term. And staff recommends to execute an economic development incentive with Clemson Engineering Hydraulics in the amount of $25,000. And this will be over a 5-year period with annual payments of $5,000. The project meets the eligibility criteria in the following particulars, including substantial investment in acquisition and cost of physical improvements that exceed over $300,000. It is a high technology growth business. It is creating 2 to 3 jobs initially, and then through the generation of revenue through water tap, water capacity, building permits, business license fees, water revenue, and sewer revenue.
Thank you. Do we have any questions about this proposal?
You said it's a growth company. How do you think they will be growing in the next few years? And what type of equipment are we talking?
Sure. What they actually do is they're in the engineering field, and they model different prototypes of, particularly in the water hydraulics. So if you had a pump station, for example, on Lake Hartwell, they would go out, they would contract with their client to actually design that and look at the flow characteristics of that, and they would do that right in their own lab here, and their clients come in internationally. And so it started off of a research at Clemson University and moved right into a scalable startup business, and it's a unique business. There's not many of these in the world, and so their clients are from all over. So what you would have is a project team that is working on design of some particular, maybe it's a water treatment plant, maybe it's a cooling tower, and that project team would contract with Clemson Engineering Hydraulics to do the modeling, to make sure everything they design works. And that's what they do. So, and that's why the facilities that they have are so large, using 20,000 square foot facility and another 40,000 square foot facility, and then some outside space to be able to use that space for building out the models. And then their team comes in, they take a look at it to see what works and what doesn't work.
Sounds great to me.
Dr. Thompson?
How much property was acquired for this project?
How much?
Inside city limits?
Yes, ma'am. It was actually 2 existing buildings. There was an existing building at River Heights, which is the 20,000 square foot building that was unoccupied. It was vacant. And so this is a big improvement to have this facility come into that location. And then another one that was also vacant was a 40,000 square foot. And they're currently using the 20,000 square foot in River Heights, and they plan to, and this is part of why we're incentivizing them, is to move the full operations into the city limits and the 40,000 square foot. From one another, allows their operations to be in one area of the city, just down the street, and it really helps them out.
How many employees you say that we have now?
They currently have 10 between their locations, and they plan to add 2 to 3 initially with the expansion into the 40,000 square foot facility.
I think it's a great idea to add high tech to any city. I'd like to move that we approve this ordinance.
We have a first by Mr. Loftus, second by Mr. Chapman. Any further discussion?
I have one comment. I think one of the other things that we discussed too was that they have a lot of international people that come in, so there's a lot of heads and beds that adds to the value of what they're bringing to our community. So I was just going to make that comment.
All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? It's unanimous. Thank you. We're always excited for economic development. Number 7, we're reaching the end. Request consideration of an agreement to settle civil litigation between the City of Anderson and LS3P Associates, successor in interest to Neil Prince and Partners Architects. Ms. McConnell.
Tonight we have City Attorney Frankie McLean. We also have our consulting attorney Mike Glenn here with us tonight, and Frankie's going to bring you up to speed on this civil matter.
Okay, this is the litigation concerning basically Jim Forrest Recreation Center and the flooding that we had down there that we enlisted assistance of Mr. Glenn to bring suit, unfortunately about 3 years ago, but I think we filed in 2014. We had previously reached agreements with the contractor for a value of around $200,000, $175 cash, and some work on the roof, about $25,000. And the site engineer agreed to pay us $200,000. The biggest part of the problem was the site engineering and the work that we had to do to make sure that water didn't get in underneath the building. The architect was the last one. Glenn tried to get them. I think we'd been better off if we'd gotten them all at the same time in one place. We were unable to do that due to the procedural rules, and we were left going against each one of them individually, and that left the architect that's always taken the position that it was the other two's fault, basically, and that they had very little liability in it. They originally offered $25,000 before we settled the other two cases, then they dropped it to $10,000. And the Recreation Committee met, we went back and at least try to get 20 out of them, and Mr. Bevel got a price on resanding and restriping the floors, which we hope, once we do that, with all the other work, we may have very usable or good gym floors. We still don't know if we're going to have that or not, but we hope it will. So we got the price of $23,000 or so, and the architect agreed to pay, or it's really the architect insurance company agreed to pay $23,750. And Mike can talk with our engineers we've been having, plus an architect expert that we would have to use that we haven't used before. And with their expenses and the expense of an arbitration, they advised us that we might get more than that, but it would probably cost as much or more to get that. So it was recommendation of staff and Mike and I that we accept their offer of $23,750 in this litigation and the cost involved in it. Get the floor sanded. Hopefully go on about the business. Mike is here if you have any questions, or that's our recommendation.
Thank you, Mr. McLean. Any questions for?
Mike, if we try to go any further, I think what we do is just be spending money for nothing. I think it's time to say, okay, let's get it behind us.
That's what we concluded. We did our best from the start to consolidate all these in one case. And the first thing we did was have a mediation with everybody, and they made no offers. So then we had to file 2 arbitrations and 1 lawsuit. We made a motion to consolidate those, and it was denied. So we ended up with 3 different suits. And it's just very expensive and time consuming on the experts and the people doing the work and everything. And so when our experts said, well, you might get more if you have another arbitration, but the likelihood is that it's going to cost as much or more than you get. And Frankie and I talked and said, we've had enough of this, the city's had enough of it. And so that led to our recommendation.
I think it's wise.
I take it that we won't be using any of these parties in the future for any future work.
I think certainly anyone's qualifications would be part of any decision we made for using any of these professionals in the future.
It started out wrong in the very, very beginning. I told them, don't build it, don't.
Buck, I'll tell you that our engineer that helped us with redoing everything, I said, what is the best thing we can say, the worst thing we can say about the architect? He said he put it in a hole. That's what you said.
That's what he said. Yeah.
Over a creek.
Yeah, he put it in a hole over a creek, and so that was a major.
That's the thing
you
don't do.
You pointed that out, I think.
I told them in that back room that night, don't do it. And they did it anyway.
That was before my time.
And I-
Any other questions?
And I more than anybody.
Next time you do something down there, you need to get Bobby Bevel to talk about it first.
And I more than anybody could say, darn architects. So, but the total collected, if the council approves this, would be $423,750, correct?
That's about right.
But it costing us how much for a net?
I had looked at it like about 180 or something like that, and I do want to thank Mike, did cut 10 off his deal. It was gracious to do that.
Well, thank you.
Thank you, Mike.
Yeah.
Once we sand the floors and whatever else you're talking about, and then it's gonna be usable, you think?
Well, it's usable now, Dr. Thompson. It's just not the product, the end product that
we wanted.
or the end product that we expected.
Yep.
After many experts looked at it, I think Bobby will verify this, they still don't know why that floor won't lay out like it should. Is that right? And after all the flooding's over, and they put in a new floor, then it didn't lay out like it should. And we still don't know why.
Moisture.
Built,
One thing, moisture.
it's built in a hole, Mike.
They built it in a hole.
Any other questions? I'd entertain a motion.
I move that we agree to settle the civil litigation.
First by Mr. Lockwood,
Second.
second by Mr. Buck Roberts. Any further discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Hearing none, it's unanimous. Administrative briefing, upcoming events, Ms. McConnell.
Well, summer is upon us and we have a lot of activities going on this month. For this week, the Southeast Anderson Task Force meets on Thursday at 5:30 p.m. at the Career Campus. On Friday the 16th, please mark your calendars and tell all your friends about movie night in Carolina Inn Park. The movie that evening is Minions, and the start time, if you remember, our start time varies because it depends on what time it gets dark, but the starting time for Friday is 8:50 p.m. Headed into a big weekend. This is Father's Day weekend, and Saturday the 17th is the Saturday before Father's Day car show downtown. That is from 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. and it always brings a crowd. Going into the following week on the 20th, C2 Neighborhood Watch is at 6 p.m. at the Fire Station 3. Certainly Block Party Thursdays, and Shakespeare in the Park begins on the weekend of the 23rd, 24th, and 25th in Carolina Inn Park at 8 p.m. That's all we have, Mr. Mayor.
I'd like to make one correction on the 15th, this Thursday, the Southeast Anderson Community Task Force, they're not meeting at the Hannah Westside Career Campus because school's out. They're actually meeting in the Fellowship Hall of Royal Baptist Church.
Thank you for that.
On East Hampton Street. And then, secondly, I received a phone call yesterday from Gloria Walker, and her father is Reverend D.B. Walker, who held this seat for many, many years with the City of Anderson on City Council, and he's turning 100 years old on June the 19th. And Gloria wanted me to extend an invitation for anybody who wants to come by his house at 312 Cleveland Avenue on Monday between 5 and 6 p.m. They're having a drop-in for him at his home. So if you're wanting to come by there on Monday, on June the 19th, you're more than welcome. So she just wanted me to pass that along.
But I received an invitation that they're gonna have a.
That's something different.
Okay, that's something different. Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Stewart. We can see our calendar is full, and we hope that our citizens will participate in some of these events. And with that, Councilman Stewart, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
First by